Hello, it's Thuan again. Welcome to my podcast. By the time this episode goes up, it'll already be 2026, but oh well, let's just consider it a New Year's review of the past year. Every year end, I get really happy because Spotify sends out the Wrapped report, and people post stories tagging me, showing I'm among the top podcasters they listen to. Moments like those, I genuinely feel incredibly happy. I feel like I have so much love in my life, and I'm truly grateful for everyone's support. I'm so thankful to all of you for accompanying me throughout this journey. I don't know how to express the depth of my gratitude, but I truly feel immense joy. If you follow my Instagram, you'll see that on those days, I reshare everyone's stories so much it's almost like spam. Hundreds of stories every day. Those are the times I spam, but I'm not shy about it at all, and I actually feel incredibly proud. Proud that so many people love me to that extent. So once again, thank you all very much. Seriously, thank you all so much. So generally, today's podcast isn't anything universal. It's simply a review of my 2025, so please, just enjoy listening. It's not meant to be profound. This year, I think, has been a year of both experience, try engim, and experiencing karma consequences, try engib. I'll tell you how later. In terms of career achievements or vertical development, I'd say I didn't develop much this year. I think I developed more horizontally, both literally and figuratively. Because living in many cities, I wanted to explore local cultures and cuisines. I love to eat, ate a lot, and gained a lot of weight too. This year, I think one of the highlights of my life was launching my first course. This was quite a meaningful milestone for me because, before, I thought I had a certain ability in content creation, but I couldn't consolidate it into something I could share or guide others with. This year, I finally did it. The process of creating a course, starting with the lesson plans, was pretty hard, but I think the hardest part was recruitment, especially for the initial batches. I had never shown off my ability in content creation before. When people like my product, specifically my podcast, it doesn't necessarily mean they acknowledge my competence. Maybe they like my voice. Maybe they like that my life has many interesting stories, but they might not believe in my abilities. So, in the early courses, convincing others, hey, I do have this ability, please trust me, come and learn, was quite difficult at first. But after several courses, I'm about to launch the fifth one now, I realize that anything you start will be hard initially. But at some point, it gets smoother. Now that I'm in the groove, the more I teach, the better lesson plans I accumulate, and the more credibility I gain with everyone. Previous students spread the word to new ones, so recruitment has become simpler. Up until now, I've always been someone who self-learns a lot. I always saw my learning as something that had to yield a tangible return. For example, I studied to be an MC to become a TV presenter. I studied physics and chemistry for university entrance exams. And this year, I think it's the first time I've spent money on learning things that didn't offer any commercial benefit. It was purely for new experiences, to enrich myself as a person. I think that's a pretty memorable milestone in my life. I started learning piano. I'm sure you've heard in previous podcast episodes about me learning piano when I was in Hugh. Right after TET, I started lessons immediately. That decision to learn opened up an entire year of wonderful experiences for me. And for me, right now, learning is truly one of the things that broadens a person's life immensely. When I learn this and that, my life gains more facets to interact with the world. What I mean is, it's not about having to become a professor or a doctor or anything like that. You can learn from anything in life. For example, when I was in Hugh, besides learning piano, my best friend owned a bakery called Bin Min. On weekends, she often held workshops, and I would go participate. I absolutely love to eat, but before I would just put food in my mouth, chew, and say, oh, it's so delicious. But I never knew why it was delicious or how it was made. But when I went to learn baking with my friend at Bin Min Bakery, she taught me, oh, this type of cake is delicious because when you beat the batter, you have to beat it at this temperature. And when you bake it, you have to bake it so many times and in such a way that the outer layers are crispy while the inside remains fluffy. I still can't bake as well as a professional baker, but now when I eat a cake, I know, it's delicious because they used these kinds of butter. Or, it's delicious because of how they baked it. I've learned to appreciate food more deeply, and especially for someone like me who loves to eat, that truly elevates my life experience. So for me, learning is truly magical. I consider myself an ordinary person, nothing particularly outstanding. But I think if you're here listening to me, you must find something interesting about me, right? A little, if not a lot. That's the power of learning. Because everyone knows themselves best, and they know where to invest in learning to stand out. It makes ordinary people sparkle and become unique. That's how magical learning is to me. For example, I had a student who works in finance. She took my course even though she was incredibly busy. She always submitted assignments past the deadline, but always submitted them fully. So, during our coaching session, I asked her, "So, what's your vision for building your channel?" She replied that she had no intention of building a channel. She took this course simply because she and her family consume a lot of content every day, and she wanted to understand the steps involved in creating content. As for attending the coaching session, it's because our course is about storytelling. And to be able to tell stories, we need to look at the highlights of our lives, what stories we should tell, and how to string them together. This requires the person to reflect on their life, introspect, and then systematize their life. She said this journey was quite interesting because it gave her moments of contemplation. So she would still go through the same coaching process as someone building a channel, simply because she enjoyed that process of reflection. And that strengthened an idea, a thought in me. Learning is something very free. Especially when we have abundant finances and time, we can learn anything we want. And this kind of learning is wonderful. I mean, now there are so many things I want to learn in life, if only I had the money. If I did, I would have so many things I want to learn. And this year, I also feel fortunate because I had enough time and a fund for my learning. Each month, I set aside a portion of my savings as my Nurture Curiosity fund. Once I have that fund, I learn whatever I fancy, even if it's the most frivolous thing on earth and won't bring any commercial profit afterward. But hey, if I have the fund, I just learn. This year, my mental well-being has been pretty good because there hasn't been much pressure. I've been eating, playing, and working at a moderate pace, everyone. I often post stories on my social media, and people frequently tell me that my life seems very happy lately, and they can even see my positive energy radiating through their phone screens. I've mentioned it in some previous podcasts before. Living, really, requires a lot of effort, not even talking about making a living or anything. I'm talking about the mental well-being aspect. It also requires a lot of effort. Even when I'm enjoying life, I still need to make an effort to experience that life. Nothing beautiful or good comes easily. Everything requires us to invest time and dedication to nurture it. And this year, I truly feel I've spent a lot of time nurturing my mental well-being. That's why I think this is the best time for me to have a lover. This is the best time for me to love. I think I'm incredibly lovable. I'm truly living a very fulfilling life. I have a loving family, good friends, a job I love and am still doing. Every day, I have an interesting life and am constantly refreshing it. So, if I were to love someone now, it would prove that I truly love them, not because my life is too boring and I desperately need a partner, or because I need someone to rescue my life. My current life is already wonderful, and having that person would only make it even more amazing. So I often find myself thinking, when will that person arrive? I genuinely miss the feeling of loving someone. I miss the feeling of being loved. It's not because my life is bad and I'm hoping someone will walk into it. It's because I feel so complete and happy with my current life that I want a companion. I want someone to witness these wonderful things with me. I miss the feeling of being in love, I mean, romantic love. I miss suddenly smiling when thinking about that person. I miss instantly spotting them in a crowd or simply sitting next to each other, watching the sunset without needing to say a word. So, generally, being alone is perfectly fine, but having someone else would also be very joyful. I don't know why this year, even though I don't have a partner, I feel like I've been through so many relationships because all my friends are dating left and right, and I'm always on their advisory board. They say that since I'm not in a relationship right now, I'm clear-headed. While they're so in love that they've become silly, so they need my advice. And I feel like I've been through so many breakups and so many relationships, everyone. It feels like I've already loved and broken up with a few people. The other day, a friend asked me a question that made me think quite a bit. My friend asked, "What if you give your all to someone and then realize they're not worth it?" And I thought, It's okay, nothing to regret when you've always been a kind person. Even if that relationship turns out to be terrible later, at that very moment, I must have cherished them deeply to treat them so well. And I was happy then, wasn't I? That's enough. My mom once told me something I'll never forget. She said, "Be careful with what you love about a person. The very things that make you love someone can also be the reasons you come to resent them. You might like someone who can guide you, but later, you might hate them for being domineering." That's why my mom also said, people shouldn't be too demanding in life. It doesn't just make you miserable, it makes others miserable too. Give yourself and those around you a chance to breathe, a chance to be themselves, and just let them be who they are. Don't try to force them into your own molds and prejudices. I think there are things our parents, adults, tell us that we don't understand at the moment, but the more we live, the more deeply we grasp them. I'm a person with too many prejudices. Seriously, I have so many of them. As I get older and have more opportunities to experience things, that's when I realize how wrong my prejudices are, and that's when I can change. Because I'm quite stubborn, I don't believe anything anyone says until I experience it myself. That's why I told everyone that this year is a year of both experience, try engim, and experiencing karma consequences, try engip. In the past, due to my ignorance, my lack of understanding, I sometimes unintentionally hurt others. And this year, I had to receive that karma myself, meaning I was treated by others in the same way. I guess you've all heard that podcast episode of mine. So, those were my karmic experiences. That made me remember even more something a friend told me. If someone is truly bad, you just need to avoid them. You don't need to retaliate at all. Because if you let their bad nature develop, one day, those very negative traits will make them go through those lessons. They will teach them those lessons. I think that statement is so true for me. This year, it's exactly like I had to receive all the hurt I had caused others. I even had to receive it many times over. Many, many times over. Honestly, that feeling wasn't pleasant, but I think I had to go through those things to truly wake up. Another very valuable thing I learned this year is to let it be. Just let it be. Whatever can be left alone, let it be. If someone does something I don't like, let them be. If someone doesn't like me, let them be too. In short, let everything that can be let go. Everyone needs their own journey of growth, so don't think you're going to intervene in that journey and teach someone, "You're doing this wrong, you need to fix it," and so on. We're not that smart yet. We're not that capable yet. Even for those who hate me, just let them be. Because if someone doesn't like me, that's their business, not mine. My job is just to live my life. If someone says one or two bad things about me and I dwell on it forever, then they'll have been speaking about me my whole life, right? We can't change anyone's mind, so just let it be. My life loses nothing without them, but if I keep bothering about them, then I get tired. Spend that time and energy worrying about other things. Truly, ever since I learned the lesson of letting go, my life has become so much more peaceful. My next lesson is about balance. I mentioned it earlier. This year I traveled too much. Working is clearly tiring, right? But playing is also tiring, everyone. During the day, I would play so much, so by the time I got home, I was too tired to do much work. So this year, I didn't actually delay any work, but everything pretty much stayed stagnant. That's why this year, I truly realized a lesson. Balance is very important. No state is permanent. If you just forget to pay attention to something for a bit, everything will regress. For example, self-confidence, if not practiced, will erode. A beautiful physique, if not maintained, will also be lost. The feeling that my life is stable is the same. It's not like if you feel life is stable, you just relax and drift, and then you drift away completely. Until you realize you've drifted so far you can't see the shore anymore. So, balance is incredibly important. Seriously, it's very important. And yes, this year, I have to admit, I haven't really achieved that balance. I'm really one of those people who doesn't stay in the middle, everyone. Wherever I drift to the extreme end. Always two extremes, never in the middle. So yes, next year, I really need to balance that out, guys. And next up is another super bright spot this year, my relationships. First, my relationship with my mother. It was always good, but this year, after studying more psychology and neuroscience, I became more knowledgeable. So, I became a therapist, in quotation marks, to help my mother heal her past traumas. During that process, my mother and I had deeper talks. I could understand her as a person more. I no longer framed my mother in an image like, Ah, this is a middle-aged woman. This woman sacrificed so much for me. This woman loves me unconditionally. I no longer framed my mother's image as just a mother, but I had the opportunity to understand her life more. I saw her life more clearly. In reality, she was once a young girl who left home to start a career in another place. No one taught her how to be an adult, and she had to stumble through each step. No one taught her how to raise children, she just raised them. She also had dreams she hadn't yet fulfilled. She also had things she was proud of. She also had regrets in life. And when I explored those things, I felt more connected to my mother than at any other time in the past. My mother has now become a soulmate, even more than a best friend, and I'm truly very happy because the person I'm most connected to and loved by in this world. Now, she and I can have even stronger connections. That truly makes my life feel so much more solid. Next is my friendships. I've always told everyone that thankfully I have amazing friends, truly wonderful friends. But before, I wasn't very good at connecting with them. I mean, we would still hang out, but whenever I was busy or didn't have time to meet regularly, sometimes I would forget to connect with them often. Sometimes I would just disappear without a trace. This year, my lifestyle is still such that I might disappear sometimes, but I've also learned to check in with my friends more. And this year, I moved to Dalat to live, and I genuinely feel incredibly lucky that when I came to Dalat, I found friends who are truly a perfect fit for me. I mean, I think there are people who come into your life and make you feel truly grateful for their presence. They make me love life more, bring me warmth, support me, and help me become a better version of myself. I truly feel lucky to have friends like that in my life. I genuinely feel super happy and super grateful for their companionship. This year, I met those kinds of friends, as I mentioned in a previous podcast episode. Those are the people at Nam Mo Homestay. If you visit Dalat, you can go to Nam Mo Homestay. I've never met a community of such gentle souls. When I was with them, I truly felt a profound peace in my mind. I no longer worried about being judged or anything. And now we've become a close group of friends, going out to eat, hang out, hike mountains, and everything together. Then when I moved to Dalat, there was Lan. Lan and I had been close friends before, but since we lived far apart, we'd only hang out whenever we met. Otherwise, we lived our own lives. Now we live close to each other, and honestly, Lan is someone I feel incredibly lucky to have in my life. Besides Lan teaching me a lot in my work, because she was in the profession before me and is truly an incredibly skilled professional, Lan is also very passionate about sports. My mom used to call me a meatball who only eats rice, meaning I didn't exercise much. But when I came to Dalat and spent time with Lan, she invited me to go hiking and running. And now I've become someone who isn't necessarily passionate about sports, but I do participate in races. I go hiking a few times a month, and when I'm close to nature, it really feels incredibly healing everyone. Whenever I feel stressed or tense, stepping into the forest makes me feel so much better. It's like nature is embracing me. When I'm in the forest, I see that trees don't grow big in a day or two, they need time to grow. And humans are the same, we don't develop overnight. And nature teaches me something, just let everything be natural, no need to rush. Everything has its own cycle of development. So it truly feels healing, it truly feels like I'm filled with so much energy. So this year I unlocked a new hobby, mountain hiking. I'm really grateful to Lan. In Dalat, there's also Da. I've talked about Da so much in my podcasts already because Da is my co-teacher in the Thuan chat course, so I won't talk too much more about him. And in Dalat, there's Viet An. Viet An is someone who always makes me feel like he can solve anything. I mean, if I encounter something and I'm panicking, not knowing how to deal with it, I'll think about calling Viet An for advice, to ask him to help calm my mind. He's a friend I feel incredibly secure with, an older brother figure who I know seems to know everything in the world. And Viet An is also the owner of Nha Nhan Cafe, a super hot spot. I'm sure if you follow images of Dalat, you know that Nha Nhan Cafe has incredibly delicious matcha latte. If you go to Dalat, you can try it. So, everyone, you've probably noticed me praising my friends quite a bit, right? That's because these are people I find incredibly kind, incredibly good-hearted, and they treat me so well. For such kind people, of course, I wish them success, and of course, I want their work to go smoothly. I always consider you all my close friends, and I want my close friends to know my close friends in Dalat. It's like you're hanging out with one group of best friends, and you want to introduce them to another group of best friends. You want your friends to connect with each other, that's how I feel. So, if you go to De Lat, you can check out Nam Mo Homestay or NHA Enhan Cafe. They are truly kind people. And I really like being around kind people. They have such gentle energy. They have such wholesome energy that when I'm around them, I feel at peace. It's not because they're weak or passively enduring. Rather, they possess understanding and empathy. They know when to hold back, when to protect themselves. They know how to treat others well, and they always give me the feeling that I am seen, that I am cared for. That's why I absolutely love being around people like that. So that was my year, and once again, thank you all for accompanying me throughout this journey. Your support truly gives me so much motivation to keep making podcasts. Thank you all very, very much. I hope you all have a very peaceful, joyful, and goal-achieving 2026. Thank you for listening until this point. Goodbye and see you again.